Sports 2000 will do it, okay? Sports 2000 is a new class in Sports Car Club of America racing. It is an outgrowth of the Formula V and Formula Ford divisions to provide a sports racing budget class. These cars have engines out of Ford Pinos and Mercury Capris, 2,000cc motors with very limited modifications allowed. And David, especially in Europe, this is a fast-growing class.
Well, this is one of those classes that's been up and down over the years. It was very, very popular, then it sort of went away, and now the last couple of years it's been extremely popular again. It gives good, low-cost, low-budget racing with production engines in a real racing car, which, as you can see, these are.
On the pole is an up-and-coming young driver, John Paul Jr., who lives just about 12 miles from Road Atlanta. His father is the World Challenge for Endurance Drivers champion, and in one particular race in that series this year, at Daytona International Speedway in July, Senior and Junior co-drove the same car, and Senior said they would have won the race if they just left Junior in it because he was a second and a half a lap quicker than his dad. He is on the pole driving a Lola, car number 8. Greg Atwell is on the outside pole from Dallas, Texas in a Lola. Dan Simpson from Berkeley, California will start third in a Tiga. Starting fourth, Bill O'Connor from Highland Park, Illinois with his Lola. Fifth on the grid is the Tiga for Steve Glassy of East Peoria, Illinois. Sixth is John Peterson of Shreveport, Louisiana in a Lola. Seventh is Larry Campbell from Michigan. Eighth, John Fergus from Ohio. Ninth is Steve Johnson from Providence, Rhode Island, and 10th is Rex Ramsey out of Florida. The field comes down to turn number 12, and they'll be looking for the starter's green flag this time by the light blue colors of JLP Racing. The Don Paul team on the pole as they head for turn number 1. John Paul Jr. just turned 20 years old in his first year of racing. Has the lead as they go through turn number 1.
Nasty crash to head turn.
Car number 95, Peter Hestrup of Fresno, California, off the course at turn 1.
The field snaking down through the S's in single file. John Paul being harried here by car number 41. That is Greg Atwell, who qualified second on the grid. This is a pretty close grid. The first 3 cars covered by less than a second, and then car number 3rd on the grid down to 12th on the grid, covered by yet another second. So a very, very closely matched race.
There is car number 45, the other car involved in that incident. That is Glenn Smith of Dallas, Texas, who has come all the way to Atlanta to watch his race end just 600 feet past the green flag.
I can tell you it's pretty depressing. It's happened to me on a number of occasions, and I suppose it'll happen again, but it is very, very depressing.
John Paul Jr., the light blue Lola, car number 8, leading Greg Atwell in a similar machine. And here's a challenge for the lead. Okay, Simpson is red, Atwell is white. Completing the first lap of Sports 2000, John Paul, car number 8, is the leader. Looking for the lead on the inside, third qualifier Dan Simpson moves up to the second spot, dropping outside pole sitter Greg Atwell to third.
Dan Simpson driving very aggressively here.
And a car is off just past the Dotson Bridge. Car number 23, Alan Lewis of Chicago, Illinois, has planked his Tiga into the tire wall, lining the side of the racetrack.
John Paul still leading Dan Simpson, but Simpson really giving him a run for his money. But Paul there using all the road and a little bit more. A lot of experience here, of course, John Paul. He practices here quite a lot because he lives just down the road. But nevertheless, for a 20-year-old, he's turned in some pretty startling performances in this last year.
In the production and sedan, the GT classes, if the cars get off into that red Georgia clay, it is not so critical. They've got a lot of suspension travel. But these sports racers are very low to the ground, David, and one of those off-course excursions like we've seen earlier in some of the production races could end the day.
Well, of course, they tend to be built down to a weight, too, so they are inclined to be a little bit fragile, for one thing. And, of course, they're extremely low, and if they run onto that rough ground, it rips away at that bodywork, and half the handling in these cars comes from the aerodynamics on those bodies. And if the bodywork gets broken, well, that's it. There we see Greg Atwell having another go. Oh, and there's contact there.
Tense moment for Atwell and Dan Simpson, as we've seen several incidents just before the Dotson Bridge at turn number 11 today.
Oh, and there's contact there. It ripped the front bodywork on the white car. You'll see Greg Atwell's car. He clipped his nose, on the back of Dan Simpson's car now. Now that is cutting things very fine.
That will upset the aerodynamics then of Atwell's car.
Well, it will. It's broken the fiberglass. If it should tear away from there, it'll certainly upset it. At the moment, it doesn't look too bad, but he must have run that corner of his car right under the bodywork of Atwell's and hit the fiberglass. I mean, the car of Simpson hit the back wheel.
Greg Atwell showing the damage from that shot at the end of the second lap in Formula, or rather Sports 2000. Little Road. Car number 88 is into the Armco barrier. That's Norm Jarl of Dallas-Port Washington in a Lola. He's in the pits and has lost the front end of that machine.
Well, the race for second place has been joined now. At 41, Greg Atwell's holding on to a very tenuous second place from Dan Simpson from Berkeley, California, and two other cars have joined in that high-speed chase.
John Paul Jr. of Lawrenceville, Georgia, out in front of the scuffle for the second spot at Sports 2000. The bodies on these cars look sort of like someone took a sheet of plastic, laid it over the engine and tires, and melted it down over the wheels of the engine. John Paul Jr., just 20 years old, and what a tremendous talent. In the Formula Ford race earlier this weekend, he was gridded 10th, had trouble on the first lap, and dropped back to 30th position and climbed back up to finish in 10th spot.
Spot is Bill O'Connor from Highland Park, Illinois, and his car has some help from the Lola factory, and Brian Redman, who has recently moved to this country, is down here helping to look after that car.
Change in second spot as Simpson moves into second position coming out of turn number 7.
Bill O'Connor also got alongside Greg Atwell, but couldn't pull off the maneuver.
That front fiberglass on Atwell's car is beginning to disintegrate after he bumped Simpson coming off turn 11 on the second lap. Close call as Atwell goes back into second spot. Simpson third. Almost takes a piece out of Atwell.
And in third spot now is John Peterson, fourth spot.
Peterson in car number 66 has moved up into the fourth position. And coming to fifth is Steve Glassy in car number 70. They have bumped Bill O'Connor back to sixth position.
This is shaping up to be a pretty good race. The more they race and fumble about it, of course, the better it is for John Paul, who has a clear track as yet. Until he comes into lap traffic, we'll continue to have a clear track. The other 6 cars are all struggling to get round each other, taking up road room, racing room, and generally getting in each other's way. Atwell there, sliding that car right to the edge of the road.
Another similarity between this class and the Formula V's and Formula Fords is that the engines are restricted on these cars, and that helps ensure close competition. Atwell, in fact, has moved up to Sports 2000 from the Formula Ford class, where he competed here at Road Atlanta in the runoffs last year. John Paul Jr., head of the field, Greg Atwell in second. Dan Simpson, car number 1, in the third spot. Moving up to fourth. That looks to be Steve Glassy. No, rather, Glassy is fifth as the race is for second here.
And Atwell immediately demoted by 2 cars there. 3 cars.
That'll be Simpson going to second spot. Steve Glassy, car number 70, up on the inside. He is fourth, and John Peterson in 66 has moved to third.
John Paul running that little car over those bump strips there up at turn 3. I wouldn't have thought that he'd want to do that maneuver too often in this little light car. strip there, fluttering off the helmet of one of the drivers. As he pulls it off, he's obviously got some oil or dust on it. And they have these little tear-off strips, they can pull them away to keep their vision clear.
Getting out of shape there is Dan Simpson out of California, trying to track down John Paul, the leader.
And John Paul's car looked to me as if it was smoking just a little bit coming off turn 7 there. He might have been spinning the wheels and making some tyre smoke, but I don't think so. It looked a bit like engine smoke. Let's hope it's nothing serious.
Still a dogfight for second spot. Simpson is second. Peterson is third.
And there he is, definitely smoking. John Paul's car is definitely smoking quite a bit, and we're told that John Paul hasn't had a very good year. He's had a lot of engine trouble throughout the year, so maybe he's going to have a recurrence of it today. No doubt he's hoping desperately that he has a run today.
A little bit of separation for the front two cars, Paul and Simpson. John Peterson up in the third spot. Steve Glassy fourth, the two red cars. Fifth is the 41 of Greg Atwell. And dropping back to the sixth spot is Bill O'Connor. What's the investment in a car like this, David?
That much? These aren't cheap. These about 10,000.
We'll wipe that question off.
Yeah. Ask me a minute.
Believe these little pissers are $10,000?
Ask me what you
17,000. What's the investment in these cars, David?
Well, I should think it's around about $15,000 to $20,000. And then, of course, on top of that, you have to run it. You have to buy spare wheels, spare tires. The wheels on these cars probably run about between $300 and $500 each. And you need set for dry, and set for the wet, and some spares. So it's not cheap.
And in sports racing, this is a budget class. It's got a budget. Good race for the third spot going on behind John Paul and Dan Simpson. Here comes 66 John Peterson and the 70 of Steve Glassy. They have raced against each other all season, both racing out of Illinois. Wrong. Third spot changes hands to Steve Glassy of Peoria, Illinois, who's ahead of Louisianian John Peterson.
And John Peterson got pushed offline, slowed up rather in front of Greg Atwell, who nearly ran into the back of somebody else.
Atwell's car is already torn up a bit from an early confrontation with Simpson. Third and fourth in your screen, Steve Glassy from East Peoria, Illinois. Third in his division this year, coming to Road Atlanta and the chase for the national championship. Leader, John Paul Jr., just turned 20 years old. His father, a very successful endurance racing champion. Second place, Dan Simpson from California. Came here as an alternate. He finished seventh. No, that's not right. Those are wrong. Second is Dan Simpson, who brings 7 1980 victories here at Road Atlanta, and he has the pressure being put on by Steve Glassy at the bridge.
As you can see, the bridge is a favorite place to overtake. It's also a favorite place for things to go wrong. And some of these drivers are really taking a chance as they go under that bridge, outbraking each other. John Paul at the moment still having a relatively trouble-free run.
That smoke seems to have abated in John Paul's house. These cars look like something that a Cub Scout would carve out of a coffee bowl to race down the hill in the final derby.